If you've been feeling stuck, lost, or like your past is louder than your future, this episode, it's for you. Hi, and welcome to the Destiny Awaits podcast. I am your host, Andrea John, and I am so glad that you're tuning in because this episode I'm so excited about. For those longtime listeners, you know that we've been going through a series called Jesus Speaks about the Sermon on the Mount. But Mike and I are currently in a season that's a little fuller than usual, if that's even possible. Between college visits, senior events, banquets, wrestling tournaments, our schedule is so tight. So, for the next few weeks, we're going to hit a pause on that series, but don't worry, it's just momentary. We will be back. In the meantime, you are going to have the opportunity to listen to incredibly powerful conversations with some incredible people who are going to share stories that will fill your spirit, equip your heart, and empower you to uncover your identity, discover your purpose, and step into your destiny. Now, today's episode, it's one I'm so excited about. I had the absolute honor of sitting down with an incredible guest. His name is Jabari Irons. He is a national wrestling champion, an author, a speaker, a coach, has his own club, but he is also an inspiring voice for resilience and redemption. Now, you may know nothing about wrestling, never been on the wrestling mat, never watched wrestling, know nothing about it. But that's okay. This conversation will speak to you because it's not just about sports. It's about what to do when life tries to pin you down, when you're battling hardships or heartbreak, loss, and you wonder if your future still stands a chance. Jabari's story, it's so raw, it's real, it's honest, but more importantly, it is redemptive. It's about not letting your struggle define you, about choosing to rise when everything around you says fall. It's about identity rooted in something deeper than circumstance and a purpose that refuses to quit. So, if you've ever wondered whether you're strong enough to overcome or if your past disqualifies you from your future, this episode is your reminder because you are made for more. I have an amazing guest today. His name is Jabari. And I invited him here because I saw a post of his where he was sharing a book that he wrote and shared a little bit, just a little bit about his testimony. But I was just so moved and thought it was so awesome that I wanted him to come here and share it with all of you. And in many cases, this is the first I am hearing of any of this. So this is a real, raw, authentic conversation as usual. So Jabari, thank you so much for being here. Before we get started, can you just share with everyone a little bit about yourself? Anything that you want to share?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, so my name is Jabari Irons, born and raised in Fort Myers, Florida. That's Southwest Florida, if you're not sure about geographical location. Um, I am the youngest of five that I grew up in my household. Twin as well. I have a twin sister. Um, Life growing up was, I would say, it was pretty normal. I would say both parents worked. We had all of our necessities, but they worked so much that they weren't really present. Both parents, mother, stepfather. So a lot of my upbringing was through my older siblings. And it was great. We all have a great relationship right now because we kind of raise each other. So it was pretty good. Growing up, it was kind of rough. Everybody around me, all of my friends, ended up getting into robberies and violence and all of that stuff. And Lord, thank the Lord, I was saved at an early age, at around 9 years old.
Oh, wow.
And it was through a church ministry. We were outside playing basketball, and a white bus rolls up, and they jump out with a lot of flyers and candy, and they say, "Hey, do you want to go to Sunday school?" And we were like, "Well, let us ask our parents." So we run inside with the flyers, and they say, "Yeah, we can go." So the next day, we put on some collar shirts and slacks, and we go to church. And that's how it all started. So we fell in love with the Sundays. I think I went one Sunday, and then they offered something else. They said, "Hey, we have a program called King's Kids, and it's every
Yep.
Wednesday."
Mm-hmm.
And it's every Wednesday. So we started going there, and I remember the very first Wednesday of King's Kids. The pastor's preaching about heaven and hell, and how we're destined for hell because of just how the nature of how everything took place. Have a shot at redemption, and we can get forgiveness through Jesus Christ. And while he was telling us, I'm like raising my hand, trying to like, "Hey, I want to go to heaven. Like, how do I do this? Like, let's do it." And he kept telling me to put my hand down, and I'm just like, "Dude, you can't tell me about this place and not answer my questions." So, so at the very end of the message, um, they take me to another classroom, and they read me the Romans Road. Still my favorite selection of how to guide someone to Christ to this day. I memorize those verses by heart, so that was what I went through. Acknowledge that I was a sinner, that I deserve hell. Get my life to Christ. So everything's been, I won't say good, but it's been comforting, and it's been secure since then. So throughout my upbringing, I was presented with more and more worldly temptation. And during that time, I was kind of the only light in my neighborhood. It was my group of friends, and then I had two older brothers, and then their older brothers. So it was like we kind of had like two classes of kids, but everybody always knew me as kind of like the good kid of the group.
Mm-hmm.
And I was always the one preaching wisdom, preaching the Bible, and the guys would know like how to get on my like how to grind my gears for me to talk about God and for me to preach because they would like it. And so anytime I would come home from church and stuff, they would start like joking or trying to switch the Bible just so I could start preaching and tell them what it says. So, so throughout the years, I ended up having the opportunity to lead a few of my friends to Christ.
That's
And then
amazing.
yes, ma'am. So as I got older, we started getting into high school sports, and so I would see those friends less and less. And then on the weekends when I would come home, I'd find out such and such went to jail or so and
Mm.
so passed away, and it was kind of like a common theme. So I'm thankful that I was able to get into athletics. God, gave me the ability to be able to do that. Kind of guide me away from the world. So that's kind of been the upbringing. So faced a lot of homelessness in high school. Family dynamics kind of got bad. Zero communication, and then when there was communication, it wasn't. It was verbally harmful. So then I removed myself from the situation. Things got violent, and I ended up. Unfortunately, I had to leave in the middle of the night. Stayed with some youth pastors, stayed with family friends, church friends, and that was from my sophomore summer to about senior in high school. And then so my biological father, I knew him as a baby, and then I knew him at about 9 years old. So
Okay.
he ended up, I had my youth pastor reconnected me with him as like a 17-year-old kid. So I haven't seen this man since I'm 8 or 9. And then when I'm reconnected with him, turns out he's a man of God now. So now I have someone to
Awesome.
be able to connect with on that level. So he changed his whole life around, and it was great. So that's kind of high school, and I know what you saw was what I experienced through college. So I know it's a very long story, a very long story. But if you have any questions up until now, you can go ahead.
Well, that's an amazing testimony. I think one of the things that everyone can take from that is the power that different groups have when they actually go outside their comfort zone and reach out.
Yes,
Um,
ma'am.
I've done that my whole life and just love giving love to other people because it is what changes people. And I
That's
find
right.
it amazing that when you found yourself in a difficult situation in high school, that you did have refuge, you had a place to go
Yes,
to.
ma'am.
And then
And
when you mentioned your dad, I got chills. I'm like, that is so amazing. Like
it
such a redemptive story that
is.
gives hope.
Yes, ma'am. I was very thankful for it. And my dad, he talks. He's a sweet guy. Um, but he doesn't, it's not like he'll come out and just talk. Like if you present something to him, he'll give you his knowledge, he'll give you his information. He's always praying for you, always encouraging. So it was an interesting dynamic. I had to pretty much relearn him all over again.
Oh, I'm
So
sure.
so it was a very interesting dynamic. But ever since we reconnected, he's been a prominent figure in my life. He's always there when I need him. So I really appreciate him.
Yeah, that's amazing. Such a story of redemption, and it'll give hope to lots of different types of people in different
Mhm.
situations for sure. And I'm sure it was I'm sure it had to have been difficult to rebuild that fatherly relationship at such an older age, right? Like you've kind of gone through your adolescence and now have to establish that. But I think it does because it was a choice of yours. It probably gave way to a good, strong foundation for that relationship.
Right. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. So I spent the I would say junior and senior year with my dad. And then so I'm playing football at this time and I'm
Okay.
wrestling at this time. And when I first was experiencing homelessness, I had some of the best games I ever had in my life, like
Wow.
18, 20 tackles, two forced fumbles, and I played linebacker. So I had ended up getting a full ride into college for football.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yes,
That's
thank
skill
you.
right there.
Yes, ma'am. So a lot of the outside influences and the negativity was kind of like pushing me to be a better person and a better athlete. Like with like hardship, I found myself doing more for people
Mhm.
and finding the light more in the situation. So life was looking up at that time. Football scholarships were coming through the door. And during that time, I was asking my dad, like, hey, what do you think I should do? I got football offers, and then wrestling season came. And then I ended up getting partial wrestling scholarships, and I didn't know what to do. I'm like, do I play football? Do I wrestle? Here's a
Mhm.
full ride. Here's a partial scholarship. Like, what do I do? And my dad's just like, well, son, just pray about it. And I'm just like, man, I need answers from you. Like, so, so that situation was nice. I ended up choosing wrestling,
Why?
because uh, there was a few factors, but I would say some of the factors were they were trying to change my position from linebacker
Mm,
to like safety,
okay.
and I was a little uncomfortable with that. And then anything that I do in life, I strive to be the best I can be, not for me, but for God
Mhm.
first. And I felt like if I have people telling me that I'm an inch too short and I have to move my position, how can I be the best that I can be with my effort? You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yep.
So, and those are uncontrollables. And I noticed that with wrestling, and even though I had a full ride, and there's exceptions to phenomenal players, and I'm just like, do I want to take my chances? On the other hand, wrestling has always given me everything I've earned. No one has ever said I'm too short. I'm missing a finger on my left hand,
Oh
and
wow.
that's never stopped me from doing anything. Not very flexible, that's never stopped me. Not too short, not too fat. If you have learning disabilities, that has nothing to do with it.
Yep.
So I said, why? And then I started wrestling at the end of my sophomore year of high school. So I'm already about
What?
16, 17 years old. So
Okay.
I said, if I just got second in the state of Florida in 2 years, what ceiling could I possibly reach? I've been playing football and it's natural since I was about 8 or 9 years old.
Right.
How much better could I actually get? And even though, football, it was natural, it was pretty easy. I really enjoyed the games. Football practice is a lot of standing around and it's like sporadic. But wrestling, hardest thing that I ever had done up until that point, still to this point. And I said, wrestling is a challenge. It kicks my butt every day. And I'm still stubborn and hard headed. So I'm like, that's the sport for me because I can't run from it. I have to try my best to be great. And I'm already starting behind everybody. So I said, let me take a chance on wrestling. And I'll play it out. It's still playing out.
This is why I love the sport so much. So, when you did get into wrestling, so you had been playing football and all that stuff, what brought you into wrestling? Like, what encouraged you to go?
So I was supposed to be on a missions trip my freshman summer. And my mom didn't let me go. And so I'm in the neighborhood, and my friend gave me a dirt bike. We're riding dirt bikes around the neighborhood. So after maybe like a week or two, I ended up crashing it. And that's how I ended up taking off the tip of my finger. So
Ooh.
then I couldn't go back into football. When football started up, I still had to heal. So a few months go by, and it's maybe like 3 weeks until I have to heal, until I can go back to football. So during that time, the sensitivity is starting to wear off. I can do more. So we're in the neighborhood UFC fighting. We all got gloves, and yeah, so we're just being boys messing around. And one of the boys said, "Well, I'm going to beat you all because I wrestle." But he wasn't beating us out there. He wasn't beating me, and
Uh-huh.
so I'm just like, I'm not going to give you the chance to beat me. So I'll see you at wrestling. So 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 I ended up going to wrestling, and I enjoyed it. And for the first 2 weeks, I got my butt kicked. But every day I was beating somebody else and beating somebody else. So 2 weeks later, I'm beating the best kid in the room. So then I say, all right, well, I'm going back to football. I'll see you when football's done. And then
Hmm.
football's over. I go back to wrestling. And then I have an 18-17 record. And I don't even win a match at the district.
Okay.
So then my coach says, "Hey, what are you doing this weekend?" And I'm just like, "Nothing." He's like, "Well, there's a tournament. You want to wrestle?" And I said, yeah, sure." And so I go to the tournament, and for the entire spring and summer, I wrestled and went to tournaments every day, every weekend. And then every day I was still doing football, weightlifting. So that was my life for the next 2 years in high school, football and wrestling every single day, every weekend. So I'm thankful because I really only did wrestling as a plan B. I said, I know I'm going to have a football scholarship, but I said, if football just so happens not to work, wrestling's going to be my plan B. And then I
Right.
said, if I don't do football or wrestling, I have a 3.7 GPA. I said, academics is my plan C. So I said, something's going to work.
That wow. I just love it. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, so now you go off to college,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
my assumption is things go off the rails a little bit. Is that what
Yes,
happens?
yes.
Okay.
So, and it was like slowly, but so I ended up committing to Ohio Valley University,
Okay.
division school in West Virginia. It's on the border of West Virginia and Ohio. So,
Oh, that's
stay there
funny.
for
We're gonna go see a school there for my daughter this weekend called West Liberty, and it's in the
Yes, I've been there.
same
I've been
location.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. West Lib is really good. So I stayed there for 2 years. In my first year, I was a match away from nationals, 165. The next year I wrestled 184. I bumped up, stopped cutting weight. And then I lost the match to go to nationals by 1 point.
Ooh.
So that year, I had trained the summer before. I had spent the whole spring and summer training at Ohio State. I was with Miran Karchalava, who's a Soviet Olympian and Russian guy. So my progress was increased at a high level. So I said I'll stay at the school as long as I'm still supported and I have the resources.
Mm-hmm.
So then, two guys graduated who were national qualifiers. They left. And then my one of my best friends, he was the last person that I had. He was the person that I was with all spring and summer, best wrestler I know. Well, his motivation and discipline started to decline the entire year, the year that I missed nationals by a point. So he starts skipping out on me, not doing extra practices with me. I don't have anybody on the team now. Now I'm the person
Mm.
looking around for, hey, I need someone to work with. And I didn't get that. So at the end of the year, I started reaching out to the other coaches and I told my coach, hey, I'm not sure if I'm going to be returning. And then he tried to bump up my partial. It was like half to a full ride. And I'm just
Okay.
like, I can't stay for the money now. Like I want to be a national champion. And the crazy part about it was about 2 weeks into college wrestling, I was about to call up my football coaches and say, hey, I'm coming to play football because wrestling was hard. I was getting my butt kicked. And
Mm-hmm.
so now I put my whole life into wrestling. And now the people that I pretty much sacrificed for are like
Yeah.
skipping out on me. So I ended up transferring schools like three times. I transferred schools 3 times because I became the best in the room very fast and I didn't have the support. So I kept chasing practice
Greatness.
partners.
Yep.
Yeah, practice partners. And it wasn't even about a facility. I just needed the partners.
Mm.
And crazy enough, as it is, and I had known this philosophy since 2014 when I met Miran Karchalava. And he would always say, you don't chase partners, you chase coaches. You don't chase partners, you chase a philosophy. So I
Mm.
ended up transferring 3 times. And at the end of it all, I coached myself to a national title. And it was with his coaching philosophy. So I used everything that he taught me and I coached myself. I was just grabbing random partners here and there. I called Nico Price, who's a UFC fighter in the area. He had opened up a gym and we traded. I would train him for wrestling and he would train me and have just be a practice partner. So it all worked out. He ended up winning a few fights in the UFC. I ended up winning the national title. And so everything ended up working out. Now, the incident where things kind of got wild. So when I transferred, one of the schools I transferred to was Bruton Parker College. And
Mm-hmm.
at Bruton Parker College, it was an amazing team. We had people, I promise you, anybody who was anybody from Florida, we had them on that team.
Okay.
We had kids from Georgia who were training at the Olympic Training Center. We had anybody who was everybody. And the team kind of fell apart. It wasn't a lot of discipline, and so um, throughout that journey, I was doing my best to stay as disciplined as possible. And young adult man, we have a lot of ego and pride. And growing up in the environments that I'm from, everything was about respect. And 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 if you didn't get your respect, it was like we're gonna have issues. So I didn't really care who it was that was disrespecting me. And even though I'm a man of God, I'm not gonna curse at you. I'm not gonna yell at you. I'm not gonna raise my voice. But I'm gonna talk to you very sternly, and you're gonna know what my standpoint is.
Right.
So sometimes, administration or someone or a trainer, they would say something to me and maybe they didn't understand the full side of the story. And before calmly, working it out, I would say, well, you're wrong. That is not what was said. I demand to be spoken to with respect. So if you can't do that, then we don't have anything to speak about. And that's how I would speak to people. And that's how I would speak to people. So my relationship with campus faculty was not the best, but I
Mm.
was arguably one of the best athletes on campus. So it kind of bought me like a little grace. So during that time, I had a car, and it's very weird during that time too. I'd been having some dreams and stuff that I was getting shot and my friends were getting shot. So it kind of scared me a bit. And so during that time, I said, you know what? I got to stay disciplined anyway, protect my scholarship and my athletics. And then I'm having these dreams. So now things are getting weird. I'm not going to any parties. I'm not going anywhere. So then my car breaks down. One of my teammates has a birthday dinner. We go to the birthday dinner. So I have to ride with them to the birthday dinner. And at the end of the birthday dinner, everybody says, "Oh, we're going to a party. We're going to a party." But mind you, for like 2 months, I've been having the same dream. So, so I tell them I'm not going to any parties. Like, take me home, take me to my dorm. So they pack up like 10 people in this small like box. Like it's like a smart car. So they pack up like 10 people in a smart car, and they drive right past the dorms. And I'm yelling at them, "Take me to my dorm. Take me to my dorm." Nobody listens. Get to the party, and they say, "Oh, we're only gonna stay for a couple minutes. We're only gonna stay for a couple minutes." So I'm standing by the door the entire time. After about 10 or 15 minutes, I round up everybody, try to get them in the car, and everybody's in the car. The driver says, "I don't have my keys." So the driver's looking for the keys. He goes inside the house. I tell everybody, stay inside the car. We're not getting out of this car. About 15, 20 minutes pass by. Driver comes back. I can't find my keys. So everybody gets back out of the car. Another 10 minutes. I'm standing outside. An altercation goes down, some verbal altercation with my teammates and someone else. I go to stand in between so that way they don't engage each other, and shots start firing.
Ooh.
Yeah, one of my teammates ended up getting shot. I got shot 2 times. He ended up passing away. So crazy story, crazy situation. But he ended up passing away. Um, During that time, it was crazy too because I mean I kind of knew what was gonna happen even well beforehand, but during the time too, I didn't. I had like a lot of regrets as I'm being like driven to the hospital, and then like on the hospital bed, I felt like I didn't lead enough people to Christ, and I felt like I didn't take a shot at my dreams when I had the opportunity to. And one of those was going to the U.S. Open. So my last year at Ohio Valley University, I had raised about 2 or 3 thousand to go to the U.S. Open,
Mm-hmm.
the World Team Trials. And the year before I was at Ohio State, I kicked everybody's butt at Ohio State. Beating All Americans in practice, like Bo Jordan, practice matches, Nick Demas, Nate Tavanello, who was the heavyweight before Kyle Snyder. So I'm like on fire. I raise all this money, and then I end up tearing my hamstring. So I wasn't able to go. And so when this happens and I'm on my hospital bed, I'm like, I wish I could have did that. But the year after, I was facing homelessness, and I said, I would like to do it and I could go to the US Open, but when I get back home, I'm going to be homeless. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense for me to go and do this. So I
Right.
kind of made excuses for myself. And so everything's kind of going full circle. And I'm just like, I didn't help enough people on this earth, and I didn't take a shot at my goals. So like I'm not ready to leave yet. So I pray and I say, hey, I didn't leave enough souls to Christ. I'm not ready to leave. Like I would like another second chance. Like, and I'm not scared of death. I know I'm a child of God. That's not what I'm worried about at all.
Right. Yeah.
I just feel like my mission on this earth is not done. So Lord willing, I ended up surviving. I graduated. I stayed in college. I graduated with a degree, not being able to use my hands or arms at all. So I finished a semester of college in two arms, cast arms
Wow.
from here to here. I couldn't do anything for myself. I couldn't brush my teeth. I couldn't do anything. Um, so I got a degree in that state. Um, when I graduated, no one showed up. Luckily, I had someone I was dating at that time. She showed up, and then One of the best friends to my friend who passed away, Stevenson, he showed up, and then my friend Marquez, we were all in like a group, and they showed up, so that was good. But like none of my family showed up. No one from back home showed up. I had given everyone flyers, messages, and it was sad because I'm like, me and my friend were supposed to graduate together. And then, someone who comes from a big family as I do, I'm like, no one showed up. But this is the person who you were all worried about when they almost died. But now they're accomplishing one of the greatest feats of their life, but no one showed up. So, very rough time. So I ended up getting that degree, and then I came home. The next year, I won nationals. I started a wrestling club, and then a year later, I said, "Let me not make excuses." I went and tried the U.S. Open, and I won the U.S. Open for beach, and I made a world team. I took a year off. And then I did it again last year. So I plan on doing it a third time this May.
Wow, you are an absolute inspiration. Talk about someone who embodies resilience.
I
Like
don't have
you
a
do not
choice.
give up, but you do that. You need to give yourself, you do have a choice. And there are so many people in your situation. Like some of the things that you talked about would destroy another person. But for some reason with you, and I'm sure God has everything to do with it, but it fueled you to move in the right direction, in the best direction. Clearly, you are someone who views trial as like, bring it, because you're like, that's what I want. I'm going to go after it. You're fearless. Just it's really an inspiring story. And what I hope that it does is that it inspires people no matter where you go, what you do, what happens to you, whether people are there for you or not.
Mm,
You can't let that stop you because what happens is then you're not living for you, you're living
right.
for those people,
Mm,
right? And look at all the things that you've accomplished. I I love Florida. I've been in Florida, residing in Florida since I was 2016, but I had been coming long before that. Always
okay.
had a dream to live here. Um, was not born and raised in Florida, but I sure do wish I was because I love this state and I love the wrestling community that we have here. And you are perfect example of why. I mean, we
Thank
just
you.
have people who model excellence and resilience. You are an inspiration. And I really hope that uh, wrestlers and athletes in general who hear this really can be inspired by their story and realize you have control over where you go.
Yes.
And
And
sometimes the decision isn't easy, but sometimes you have to make those hard, like to me, I think the fact that you turned down a full scholarship with football to go to a partial scholarship with wrestling, that's not an easy decision,
it's
but you
not.
you were willing to do it because you analyzed what do I want
Mm.
and you made that decision. And that's
And
a
there was a
beautiful
lot of
thing.
prayer that went into it, a lot of prayer. I spoke to any coach that I had, I spoke to them about it. And I remember two coaches in specific. One of them was Joe Johnson. He was raised and born. Funny, my dad knew him growing up. He's friends with like a lot of my cousins. So he's
Okay.
one of my coaches, and every time I see him, he's always telling me about my family and stuff, asking me how my dad's doing. So he told me, he said, man, and he wrestled and played football too. He had offers to go wrestle. He chose football. So he said, man, I told my mama, he was like, I said, if I didn't get a full ride, I wasn't going to college. And at that time, I don't think I had a full ride yet. But he would always tell me that if I didn't get a full ride, I wasn't going to college. And I ended up getting a full ride. And then I got a partial. And I was thinking, you are not wise if you turn down a full ride for a partial scholarship.
Right.
And I'm just like, you are not wise. but something just kept telling me, give it a shot, give it a shot. And I don't know, I've always kind of done the opposite of what everybody else did as well. Stubborn. I've always been that way. So everybody else, I had like 8 friends, a group of like 8 friends, and they all went and played football. And I was the only person that went and wrestled. And
Yeah.
yeah, something just told me to just take a shot. And so I did, and a lot of trials, but I chose it also because I knew it was going to be the tougher road. And and indeed it was. Um, but I always felt like my entire life, if like you can complain and but if you wake up the next day, you're going to be in the same spot. So complaining isn't going to do anything. And after a certain point, you're going to realize complaining is leaves you stagnant. So unless you get sick of your own complaining and you take one step forward, no matter what that step is. Maybe you got out of bed today. Maybe you showered. Maybe you made a list of things that you have to do. Doesn't matter what step or how big the step is, as long as you take that step, you'll be in a better position than you were yesterday. So my thing is just always take the next step. And and you can't blame anybody. And if you feel like I don't got the strength to take the step, then you pray and you ask God, give me the strength to take the step. If you don't got the strength, you tell him, guide me, use your arms as a brace on my legs and take that step for me. So
Yeah.
yeah, so that's kind of just always been my mindset.
There's a lot of analogies, metaphors, whatever you want to call it, between wrestling and life.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter started wrestling her freshman year. She was the only girl on the team to start off with.
Mm-hmm.
So she was wrestling with the boys. Uh, she had some wins, even against boys.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
she had never done jujitsu. She had never done anything. She just like went into this, but she's always been very sporty and athletic. I
Mm-hmm.
remember at the age of like 6 or 7, I was an endurance runner, and she comes out with me, and out of nowhere, she runs 6 miles her first time, like nobody's
Wow.
business. This little girl. So she's just very athletic. And one of the things she values about her wrestling room right now is how hard they work, and
Mm-hmm.
she's not, when it comes to skills, she's very skilled. She finished this year second in the state.
Hey,
Obviously, she was
congrats.
she was not happy about it.
Right,
She's not
right.
happy about it. But she worked really hard. Last summer she was in the hospital, and that
Mm,
took her out for a while. But she just, she is very focused and loves wrestling and loves, and I was in an abusive relationship, and, we had domestic
I'm sorry
violence
to
in
hear
our
that.
household. Yeah. And so at a very young age, she dealt with that, and drugs and alcoholism and all this craziness, but it's really helped give her resilience and
Mm-hmm.
maturity. And I feel like when I hear your story, that's what I hear, that at a very young age, it's funny because on the surface, you say it's not wise to turn down a full scholarship, but not everything, there's things that seem wise to a man, but it's not really the wisest. Like, you need God to really know what's wise and not wise. And sometimes I always say wisdom is found in common sense, oftentimes. And the reason it feels hard to make decisions is because sometimes the wisest thing to do is the hard thing to do. And we want to be spared from that hard thing to do. And what I hear in your story is your willingness to do the hard things. And sometimes it takes time, does not overnight, right? It takes years and years of grit, of fighting, of emotions, highs and lows, and all this stuff. But eventually you get to feel the effects of your hard work, right? And one of the things that I always tell Anna is, yes, being a champion is super cool, right? Like, that's what you want. That's what you go for. You're always in it for the win, for that first place. But who you are matters more, because what's the point of having that medal around your neck and nobody likes you. Nobody wants to be around you. You inspire no one because you're just not a nice person. I'm like, you have to first be a good person, learn the fundamentals. And I love her coach because it's his thing is very much geared, let the fundamentals matter. It's not pretty, it's not fancy, but it's the foundation. And I'm so excited to see her go to college because I think she'll excel there. And
Yes,
her,
yes.
we have a few schools we're visiting this month. So there's a lot of travel going on.
Congratulations.
Yeah, but one of her, like, she set on make, I think she'll feel it when she's at the school she should be at. But her number one priority is I need a hard-working wrestling room,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And she's not, she's a girl, but Anna's not fluff. She's not the
Mm.
type of girl you'll see laughing at tournaments, and she always looks like
Yeah,
she's mad at the
she
world. And
means business.
yeah, she knows how to set that focus, when she's in
Mm.
tournaments. And her and I have very good communication. So, for example, going into the state tournament, we had a conversation. Okay, what do I do if you lose? What do you do? What do I do if you win? Where do I go? And and she told me this. She said, if I win the title, you will not be my first hug. Jocelyn's going to be my first hug. And that's her teammate that,
Her practice partner.
yeah. And like so Anna was the first girl. Jocelyn came in after that. And then they wrestled a lot. And those two girls bicker all the time. It's not like, but they have this bond,
Of
and
course, they help each other get better.
yeah, and they've been rooting
Yeah.
for each other. And this year, Jocelyn got first last year.
Wow.
And this year
Congrats.
she fell short, but to her, she kept telling Anna, like, I'd rather you win than me win. And Anna's like, no, we both need to win.
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
but when Anna told me that, I didn't take offense because I was like, you're with these girls day in and day out, like
Of course.
the pain and the struggle, and you guys go through all this stuff. So I think having open dialogue for those of you who do have athletes in general, so not just us, like, I think a parent needs to have the open dialogue and expectation, um
Mhm.
to know. You have to know, I know my kid, I know. I know she is. But I'm so thankful that you took the time to be here, but I don't want you to
Yes, ma'am.
go without you sharing about your book. And I'll make sure that I
Yes.
share everything in the show notes and put links and all the good stuff. But definitely share about your book. Like, what's it about? I am
Okay.
part of a publishing company, so and I'm an
Wow.
author myself. Uh, yeah,
Congratulations.
so when I saw you had a book, I was like, this is awesome. Like, up
Yes,
my
ma'am.
alley. Let's talk about it.
So I'll tell you, this book, and one of the first things I was told was that when you create a book, it's a life journey because it's your property, it's your investment, your asset for life. So
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, you know, and this book was probably one of the most time-consuming processes to complete, one of the most expensive processes to complete.
Hmm.
So it's crazy. I'm thankful I got it done. It took me maybe like 2.5 years. It was supposed to only take me 1 year to get it done. Normally, I'm very frugal with my money. I don't spend my money on anything unless it's an investment. And even if I do, it's going to be in very small increments. Uh, so my illustrator is a McDonald's Happy Meal toy designer and a
Oh.
Marvel comic book designer. And then he had his own publishing company as well. So it took me a long time to be able to, I first wrote it, and then I needed so many edits and different type of edits to it, and then an illustrator. So I was trying to go to so many different places, and I'm watching podcasts, I'm on Google, and I'm
Yep.
finding like trying to piece together the process. And then I get in contact with this guy online. He reached out to me because his sons wrestle. And then when I
Okay.
click his profile, we have this long conversation. Click his profile, and I see like a cartoon character. And I say, well, what is this? So then I'm about to delete the thread, and I see the logo. So I click it and I just see all of his artwork, and it is amazing. And
Uh-huh.
I'm getting chills again because I had been trying for months and months and months. And every time I reach a roadblock, I'll try for maybe a few weeks, I'll give it a break. Try for a few weeks, give it a break. And that had been happening for months. And it finally came through. So he ended up doing my book. So the book is called When Life Tries to Pin You. And I was thinking about a bunch of different titles, and I'm just like, well, life is hard and life is going to try to pin you. So you need to learn how to get off your back, and you need to learn how
Mhm.
to wrestle with
I
life.
love it.
So,
Uh-huh.
yes, ma'am. So the book is called When Life Tries to Pin You. And it is about the story of a young boy. His name is Montez. Um, he comes from a home that is at risk, or let's say broken. So this kid, it details, and I'll go real fast, but it details that he was popular in school, and he had some behavioral issues in class due to the talkative nature. He always got in trouble at school. He was very intelligent, gifted program, but he always faced the challenges of being social. And throughout that, he would make amazing grades, but it's night and day. It's you're a gifted student, but your behavior in school.
Yes.
So it details how his home life starts to decline,
Mhm.
and then he's faced with homelessness. Um, and throughout that story, it talks about how he ends up finding the sport of wrestling. He ends up using the sport of wrestling to wrestle in the state championships. And then at the end of it all, he has a hero's journey, and he ends up helping kids who are just like himself. So he ends up going back to where he lives and helping all of the kids who come from similar situations that he comes from. So that's what the book is about. And I also have a activity book as
Okay.
well. Um, you can design your own singlet inside
Cool.
of
Okay.
our book. You can design your own headgear. There's a journal. There's word searches. There's
Mhm.
games. I know this might be, but there's all type of games. So I did my best. I did my best. It was the biggest investment that I've ever made until now. So I'm gonna keep on telling my story, trying to reach new heights, and hopefully someday, if not me, my kids or my kids' kids, and hopefully someday somebody will reap the benefits.
Oh, listen, there are people reaping the benefits now. Like, I believe that our stories, our testimonies, our lives cause ripple effects in people's lives. And that's the greatest uh, multiplication effect that there is. I have two questions for you. One
Yes.
is, what age group is that book for? I mean, I'm an adult and I read kids' books all the time, but like, what age group is that book for?
So this is about 7-year old, so it should be like first, second grade level.
Okay, cool. And what inspired you to write a book? So, one, I just want
Okay,
everyone to
okay.
know because everyone knows that I'm in publishing and I understand how difficult it is to publish a book. There, you can self publish, but even in self publishing, it's still a lot of money, as you know. And if you
Mhm.
want to do something of quality and excellence, you need to invest. I see it as investment. So that book, by
Mhm.
the way, looks amazing.
Thank you.
But what inspired, like, why did you even try? Like, what was in your heart about
So
it?
so it goes back to that church ministry.
Okay.
Um one of the women, her name was Kim Sutton, and she was the associate pastor's wife. I spent a ton of time with her. And they would always take out me and my sister to dinner. We go um, knocking on doors, passing out tracts. We did everything. And she would always say that everybody has a story to be told and that everybody should write a book. And so I heard that from when I was like 8 or 9 years old, all the way until I was like 21 years old.
Wow.
And so
Awesome.
my entire life, I've always said, I'm going to write a book. I'm going to write a book. And this is something that I never said. And I think I still have the Bible. And if it's not in that Bible, I don't. I used to have a big family Bible.
Okay.
I got it from my mom, and it was like a big family Bible. And I remember I wrote in it. I want to say like my junior, senior year in high school. I wrote in it that I did not want to be known um, nationally, like in America. I wrote in it that I'm not chasing, local fame. I said I want it to be known in the world. I wanted to make an impact in the world, not only in America. And I remember I wrote that inside my Bible. And so when it comes to this story, um, the mission was, and I never thought to write a children's story. It was always going to be an adult story.
Mm-hmm.
And I started for maybe like a year writing the adult story. And I still have the notebook too. And I started by writing what I want the title to be, what I want the purpose to be, and then how I wanted it to go. So I sat down, and at that time I was at Florida Gulf Coast University. So there's beaches, palm trees everywhere. So
Mm-hmm.
I always sit down next to the water, and I just start writing out all of the um, memorable experiences, traumatic and non-traumatic. And when I figure out the purpose of my book, I start thinking about all the memories that are associated with that purpose. So then every memory is a new section or a new topic.
Okay.
That's how I start writing out my outline.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I get my outline, I have to start telling these stories. So this is probably the the some of the toughest things that I had to do because I have to remember all of these stories detailed.
Yep.
So then I write it all out by hand. And then I get my computer and I go back and I do it all on my computer.
Okay.
And then I come up with a topic and then I start editing it myself. And even when I edit it so many times, still not good. It's not at the grade level I need it to be. There's
Right.
a lot of side quests and stories that maybe don't need to be there, but yeah, it
Right.
gives you background, but it does need to be there. The verbiage is not on second grade level. So there were so many things that I had to learn. But so I ended up starting with this adult book. And then um I get inspired. I get inspired, some things in life not working out the best, but I now have time to focus on myself. So I said, you know what? I'm sick and tired of making excuses. I'm gonna write this book. So I had just started my club for not too long. I did my first camp ever. And I remember the Friday before doing this camp, I just sat down at my desk. And at that time, I was teaching a critical skills class. So it was kind of an
Okay.
ESC class, but it was kids who needed the structure. So I
Okay.
made them do everything that I did every day. When you get to class, you're going to write down your to-do list. You got like an hour and 30 minutes in this class. At the end of
Okay.
this day, something better be crossed off on this to-do list. So,
I
so
love
while
it.
they're doing so while they're doing their to-do list, I'm doing my to-do list. I'm getting my stuff done. I'm walking around helping them, but I'm writing this book as they're in class. So I finished the book on Friday. Saturday comes. I have the first camp that I've ever did sold out during COVID. Sold out.
Wow.
It's like right before COVID. Sold out. And I remember I left the door open to the gym and it's in like a shopping plaza. So
Okay.
like as I start talking to the kids, my back is turned towards the door. The door is behind me. So as I'm talking to these kids, there might be a couple parents sitting down. But at the end of my speech, I turn around and the entire doorway is filled with people We have glass that we can see in the plaza. The entire walkway is filled with people, and they're telling me, um, thank you for your speech. You motivated us. We really appreciate it. I'm just like, who are you people? I don't
That is
even know
so
you.
amazing.
But I think I was talking to them about passion. And
Okay.
I was talking to them about passion. And I was telling them that if you are passionate about something, you got to do it or you're going to live with regret. And I was telling them that a lot of people, they might say, oh, Coach Irons, he's not passionate, he's heartless, he doesn't care about it. And I'm just like, it's because I'm not passionate. And if you're not passionate about it, the odds of you caring about it are going to be fairly low. So if you're
Right.
passionate about wrestling, you need to pursue it. And I was telling them, if there's some things that if you're not passionate about, you got to do it anyway because of
Yeah.
discipline. But I'm
Uh-huh.
telling them like passion is what fuels us.
Mhm.
And the and the parents were like, they appreciated that. And I was telling them, I'm like, some people hate their jobs, but they do it because they have to. And
Right.
I'm saying, I'm like, yeah. So I'm just talking about it, and some parents like, I needed to hear that. They're like, we're gonna go and find a different job. I'm 30 years old, and I'm gonna pursue my passion. And I was thankful. So that is what pushed me to write the book. And once the book was done, I started reaching out to people who I knew had books, and then I just started
Mhm.
connecting the dots. So now the next mission is to um, I already have a couple more outlines for the character. Some of it is my stories, some of it is my nephew's stories.
Okay.
Some of it is I have a son. Some of it's going to be his stories, but it's going to be the same character. Um,
Okay.
and then I'm still working on the adult version. It's rough because it's like, how long do you want it to be? How much
Mhm.
information do you want it to be? And then I could take that and break it up into different subsections and different books as
Yeah.
well. So I'm just trying to figure it out. I haven't put time to focus on it lately. I've just been trying to focus on the one I have right now.
Yeah, and that's what you have to do. I think when you do write a book that's more like a memoir, it there is a lot, and to your point, it can then become too much. Like you have to be very wise about what you choose to put in and not put in. And we it at the publishing company I'm with, we do a lot of mentoring and help people. So really it's about, I love what you said, you kind of you have a purpose and you think about the stories that go with like that's the best way to get started. The one thing we do say though is just write, and don't edit your own stuff. You get through the whole writing process, then you go back and you may find that you have too much and it's like 10 books worth, but then you go back and you're like you cut, and let other people help you do the edit to get like a first round. But we do have
Yeah.
the instinct to start editing while we're writing, but then it cuts
Yes.
off the creative process.
Yes, and with the big book, that's what I was doing with and I revised that outline so much in the stories, and then you got to take out stories. But the children's book, I just got fed up with myself, and I just started writing, and I didn't stop until I was finished.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. I love it. I'm definitely gonna pick up some to have around the house.
Hey,
Anna is starting kids club. So she's
hey,
gonna be coaching the little kids because she loves little kids. So she's going to school for education, and her goal is
amazing.
to come back here and teach and coach, right back
Yep,
here and give back. She loves her school. She's got a lot of school spirit. Like we are bulldogs to the end. So her
and
plan is to go and come back and give
that's
back.
what I did. That's what I did. If someone changes your life, you give it right back to the next generation. So
For sure, for sure. Well, listen, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to be here
thank
and
you for the
talking to
invite.
us. Your story is so inspirational. If someone wanted to follow you, reach out to you, work with you, how do
Yes,
they do
ma'am.
that?
You can find me on Facebook. My name is Montez, Montez. It is Montez. If you just typed in Jabari Irons, it would come up in the search bar as well.
Okay.
Facebook, Instagram, we have team pages, Irons Elite Wrestling Club. YouTube, I have a page, Irons Elite Wrestling Club. I'm always traveling, doing camps and clinics. Private lessons this Saturday, I have one at George Jenkins High School. Um, Always willing to come out, share my story, pass out books, talk to students. I do that a lot at colleges as well. So that's where you can find and reach me. Always open to getting my story out and helping whoever feels maybe that they can share you and helping me get my story out.
Of course. Well, thank you so much. I'll make sure to put all the links and all the ways to connect down in the
Yes,
show
ma'am.
notes. Thank you so much for being here. Until next time, everyone.
Yes, ma'am.
You see, I told you that this was going to be a powerful conversation. I hope that Jabari's story encouraged you as much as it inspired me. His resilience, bold faith, and determination to rise above adversity is such a powerful reminder that our past and our circumstances do not define our purpose. And when life tries to pin us down, we still have the choice to rise. Before you go, I do want to give you a little preview on what to expect next week. We are going to share a conversation where I was on the other side of the mic being interviewed about my 31-day devotional reading plan on the Bible app called In Her Image. The conversation is going to dive deep into the heart behind the devotional, what I believe is the biggest misconception about the virtuous woman described in Proverbs 31, and what most people overlook. We also talk about things like identity, purpose, and the beauty of being made in God's image as women in today's culture. So make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. And if this episode encouraged you, please do share it with someone who needs a reminder that their destiny is still within reach. And don't forget to leave a review. It helps more people find these powerful conversations. Until next time, remember that you were made on purpose for a purpose. Keep moving forward. Your destiny awaits.